Welcome to MTG Friends. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Josh. Today we're going to talk about the tribal type cards that were released in 2007 era in Future Sight, Lorwyn Block, Rise of Eldrazi. It is a type that was in the super type position but never actually became a super type. Things like the tribal enchantment Merfolk, the tribal instant goblin cards. You know, what exactly does that mean and what do they do?
Right, and this isn't to be confused with having a tribal deck per se, you know, where you have a spider deck or you have a goblin themed deck or an elf deck.
Or a goblin spider deck.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
I just had a picture of a spider goblin.
Ooh. Now they'll come out with something like that.
I hope.
Yes.
Please come out with spider goblins.
That would be great. And it is of note that this particular tribal type card is no longer supported, but there are some really great cards that are still legal to play and are really powerful. And I know you're going to notice at least a couple of these.
Yep.
So
there's 54 total cards that came out when they were trying to work this into the game. And it has 16 different tribes that they actually completed cards for and put out to market. But we've got Eldrazi, Elemental, Elf, Fairy, Giant, Goblin, Kithkin, Merfolk, Rebel, Rogue, Shaman, Shapeshifter, Soldiers, Treefolk, Warrior, Wizard. Let's talk about a couple of cards that we just really like because they're just awesome. Our first card is Eyes of the Wisent.
Wisent. I'm going to go with
Wisent.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a 1 colorless, 1 green tribal enchantment elemental. And what does it do?
Whenever an opponent plays a blue spell during your turn, you may put a 4/4 green elemental creature token into play. This is a great sideboard card if you're playing against somebody blue. And if you're playing Commander, this would be a great one to include because there's going to be somebody playing blue out of the 4 of you.
There's always a counterspell somewhere.
Oh, always.
Always.
And they're not going to be expecting this thing to hit the play field.
And it's just a fun card all around.
Mm-hmm.
But next we've got Eldrazi Conscription. What's that?
Oh, it's a big mamma jamma. It's 8 mana, and notice it's tribal enchantment dash Eldrazi and aura. Boy, that's a lot on that line. And what this does is it's enchanted creature gets 10/10 and has 2 Annihilator. So Annihilator, I know you know all about this from the Eldrazi days.
Yeah, no, I love playing my Sponsire of Ulamog and just dropping every Eldrazi that I own from outside the game right onto the battlefield. It's pretty nice.
Yes, we should do Annihilator mechanic for one of our next mechanics.
Annihilator's next.
Yes, we will
do
so. Done and done.
So really fun card. Hard to play sometimes, but when you do, it's just really satisfying watching their board just disappear.
Yeah, and that's going to be a game over for at least if you're playing one-on-one for sure. And if you're playing Commander, you're going to be taking out somebody.
So next we've got All Is Dust, another tribal sorcery Eldrazi.
Mm-hmm.
So that costs 7 colorless, and each player sacrifices all colored permanents they control.
That's nasty.
Yeah, especially, again, if you're playing an Eldrazi deck.
Yep. You're playing a colorless deck, you're going to be just wreaking havoc elsewhere. That is like a hardcore wrath.
Yeah. It's very, very targeted to everyone else.
Spicy, spicy, spicy.
Yep. And then after that, we've got Malicious Pride. 1 colorless, 1 white, tribal enchantment Kithkin, which when we were going over this list, I was thinking, wow, I might actually do a Kithkin deck because this card is just a little bit of fun. Tell us it.
It's whenever a non-token creature you control attacks, you may pay white. If you do, put a 1/1 white Kithkin soldier creature token into play, tapped and attacking. Now, I remember this card very well from that set when I was playing a lot on MTGO. Magic the Gathering Online. Oh man, this thing was all over the decks and the white weenie decks. So it's actually a very powerful card. you get a bunch of Kithkins. You can be playing this thing even without the tribal Kithkin because you're going to have a 1/1 attacking and be able to do all sorts of shenanigans with that. Shenanigans?
Shenanigans. Yeah.
All right. On to the next one. Notorious Throng. This is a 3 colorless blue tribal sorcery - rogue. What does this thing do, Josh?
Well, it has the prowl cost, which is 5 colorless and 1 blue, and that's if you have dealt damage to combat damage by a rogue to a player this turn, you can pay the prowl cost, which buys you a little bit extra, but it allows you to put X/1/1 black fairy rogue creatures with flying into play, where X is the damage dealt to your opponent this turn. Opponents, that's important if you're playing with multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had paid the prowl cost, you then get to take an extra turn.
Indeed.
So,
and everybody likes taking extra turns. So if you do the damage, does it have to be with a rogue? Or is it just any damage?
Yep. No, the prowl damage has to be done with a rogue.
Okay.
Yep. So that kind of works really well with this card that I know you really love. Go ahead and tell us what that is.
Oh, yes. It's what our background is for this episode. It's Bitterblossom, and I bitterly am going to tell you what this thing does. It's a 1 colorless black tribal enchantment fairy. This is by far the most powerful card and still in use today of this set of cards. And it is at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. Yes.
That was another wordy one.
Yes, it was.
Didn't you quit playing Magic for 5 years or something like that?
Yes, more than 5 years.
Why did you quit?
Because they had an aggro fairy deck that was also a control deck. And it was just aggravating to play against, and I refused to play it on the ladder as well. So, yeah, moving on.
He rage quit for years over that card.
I rage quit for that card specifically. So, it has a special place in my heart, but not in the happy the happy place. It's in a different place.
So, anyway, shuffling that under the rug, we're going to go to Reach of Branches as our next card that we're going to talk about. It's 4 colorless, 1 green, tribal instant tree folk. You get to put a 2/5 green tree folk shaman into token onto the battlefield. And then, whenever a forest comes into the battlefield under your control, you get to take it back from the graveyard and put it right back into your hand.
Reoccurring spells, nothing better.
More bang for your buck, I guess. I mean, it is a little bit of expensive for a 2/5, but the fact that it is just regurgitating over and over and over again, bouncing back and forth from your graveyard to your hand almost endlessly is amazing.
Yep. Now, these tribal cards, if you'll notice, there are no creatures. These are either instants, sorceries, enchantments, or artifacts.
Artifacts?
Yep, we didn't mention too many of them, but...
We didn't mention any of them.
No, we didn't. So we'll put a couple up on the board right now. Artifacts. And these cards, we think, because they're no longer supported, they were intending to do something with these. So to Josh and I, this feels incomplete. Oh, maybe there was going to be some cards where it says, hey, if any tribal card you play costs 1 less to cast, or something tribal does this, but there are no cards that support these cards.
That we can find, at least.
Yeah, we can find.
We can't really find a reason for this to even exist because it is incomplete and MTG dropped it, or Wizards dropped it.
Right, and we've scoured the internet and haven't really found anything except for the fact that this set of cards does exist. If you know more, please put it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
We're always about getting educated.
Absolutely. Again, some of these are really great cards. The themes were, that these cards would do things that would benefit that particular tribe. So there's giant cards, there's instant cards that benefit. Like there's one that it costs 2, you play it as an instant. Now, did it need to have the word tribal on it? No.
Like Tarfire, it's 1 red and it deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
Right.
And it's a tribal instant goblin, but it could have just as well just been a instant.
Yeah, it's a shock,
yeah.
but it's
also a goblin? I don't know how that benefits you, though.
Yeah. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Tribal, we think, is actually kind of cool. It would have been really nice to see them evolve this into something. They didn't. So we're not going to see any more of this stuff except for reprints like Bitterblossom, at least according to Magic the Gathering, MTG. But as we know, everything can change, and suddenly we could see a bunch of tribal stuff, and it's like, I thought this wasn't supported anymore.
Maybe when they run out of ideas, they'll go back to this.
Oh, yes.
Maybe.
Yes, indeed.
But that's all we got for you right now. Make sure to click subscribe if you want to be a friend of the Gathering. And we'll hit, what are we going to do next? Convoke? Look for Convoke next.
Yep, look for Convoke.
And Annihilator.
Next. All right.